We were literally just saying, you said 10 years. I don't believe it's been 10 years. It I like, you know what it is? It's when you have that like connection on social media, you almost feel like you've never really completely disconnected from the person. And your sister and I went to elementary school together. We grew up on the same street. So I feel like we kind of always saw each other. Not that we were necessarily friends, I wouldn't say,
Yeah, yeah, I feel
but
you. I feel you.
but always like supported each other on social, whatever, messages here and there. But anyways, it's just funny to kind of like see you face to face after, all these years. I'm excited to talk.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. And I'm also like really loving watching your journey as well. Like, I'd love to hear more about that too if you have time.
Definitely, we can get into it. I have a million questions for you though, because first of all, like you've completely transformed your life, your career from the last time we spoke. I've seen you do it, over social media, but haven't asked you all the details. And I just like need to know. I'm sure, like your followers and everyone who's been following your journey as well in your personal life. Some of them may know, some of them may not know the little details in the back end. And I think it's a really cool way to share it, in like long form, tell all of the stories. But I first want to kind of jump in. So you're from Montreal, you moved to the UK. Why the UK?
Yeah, okay. So I guess in order to answer that question, I will have to like backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
But basically, after I graduated university, I was really wanting to just travel and like see the world. And at the time, my sister was in Australia. She was living in Australia,
Mm.
and she was like, "You would love it. Like, I'm living in Melbourne. You would love Melbourne. It's just like Montreal, but like obviously there's differences, but like similar vibe, a very alive city. There's so much to do. And I was like, you know what? Like, screw it. I'm going to do it. So me and my really, really good friend, Steph, we just booked a flight. Like, I literally graduated university in December and I left in January. Like, I did not wait. I did
Yeah.
not wait.
Yeah.
And initially, I was only supposed to go for 4 to 6 months. That's what I told everyone because of course like you say that out of fear. You're like you don't want to admit that like you're going to be anywhere longer than 4 to 6 months, so that was like my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got there, and within the first month of moving to Melbourne, I met my partner James, and he's a Scottish man.
Oh.
Yeah, so I've been with him like literally ever since the day I met him. It's
Was he
crazy.
traveling too?
Yeah, so like we were
Okay.
both on the same visa, so it's called a working holiday visa. So basically you can like you're there and you're living, but you're working as well. But like a lot of people that are on work holiday visas, they're there to like have fun and explore
Yeah.
and stuff. So you're not like I didn't take life super super seriously, you know. I was really there
You
just to
were
like
working in quotes.
yeah, I still of course had a job and stuff, but
Yeah.
I wasn't doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's so then basically after our visas expired, because the working holiday I only got 2 years, and then
Okay.
after my 2 years I moved to James's home, which is Scotland.
Oh, nice. Okay, so why his home? Like he didn't want to come to Canada, or did you like prefer to go to Europe? I mean, I would go to Europe any day over where we live, but what was your rationale?
So actually, believe it or not, the craziest thing is that we actually moved to Toronto. The reason why we
Okay.
moved to Toronto was because, or that we wanted to move, sorry, quote unquote, wanted to move, was because it's more English and James doesn't know French.
Mm-hmm.
But he's always been, actually, believe it or not, a lot of people are fascinated by Canada. And he was like, I would love to move to Canada. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I said to myself, Toronto has always been a place that I have been intrigued by. As
Mm-hmm.
someone that worked or studied media, I've always had this pull to try out Toronto. So I was like, let's do Toronto. And then after literally within the first week of us moving there, remember that we prepared our entire life to move to Toronto. We had packed our bags. James had applied for a visa that he had been working on for like a year at this point. So like
Okay.
we were committed. And then after he just got this feeling, it was the middle of the winter. We moved it. So this was right before the pandemic. So we moved, let's say January of 2020. And then we were there for literally 1 week, and he was just like, something doesn't feel right. He was just like,
Mm.
I've been getting this like this feeling. Mind you, he had been applying for like several jobs, and he wasn't getting much feedback or much responses. He was getting quite nervous about that. He even applied before we went to Toronto, so he was trying to like just suss out the situation, and he was like, it seems like people really don't want to hire me, even though I'm qualified to do what I do. He was like, some people, it seems like they're like, oh, he's on a Canadian working holiday visa. How serious
Oh,
is this
yeah.
guy? Because like,
Mm-hmm.
remember, he's not a Canadian resident. So he was just getting some like some weird thoughts, and honestly, I was like, I have nothing to lose. I'm happy to do what makes you feel comfortable, because I'm going to pursue my passion in pole and fitness. That was like my
Mm-hmm.
goal. So I was like, whether that means doing it here in Toronto or going to the UK, I'm just happy for you to just decide, and I'll let you, I'll let you lead the way. And then after, basically, he was like, let's just go to the UK. So then within like a day, we decided, okay, we're doing the UK.
Yeah.
Sorry, not a day of like moving to Toronto. I mean, like, we made the decision
In that,
after he
yeah.
felt this way. Yeah. And then after, basically, we just applied for a fast track visa for the UK. And then after, we moved to the UK after like a week of making that decision.
Wow. That's wild. Talk
Yeah,
about like
yeah.
following your gut and your instinct though. I'm assuming you're happy or loving it there.
Yes, there are so many reasons. Like, I can't even explain how much the universe had our back in that situation, because we moved to the UK, and then of course we didn't have that much money. This is after Australia.
Yeah.
If you know many people that do the working holiday visa, after that experience, no one leaves with that much cash, let's be real. You're partying a lot, and you're enjoying life, and you're traveling, and anyway, so we were not in a good financial position at that point. A.
Okay.
B, we also got to stay at his family's house, and it was
Mm,
initially only going to be for about 3 months. That's what we said. 3 months, then we're going to get on our feet and then have our own apartment. Little did we know that the pandemic was going to start within the first month of us moving to the UK,
yeah.
which changed everything, because then that made my situation very hard to like put myself out there. Like, I had just moved to a new continent and had like no friends, no real job. It was
Mm-hmm.
a very scary time. And then after, it went boom, pandemic, and then thank God we had a cushion, which was James's family,
Yeah.
and they helped us like really stay on our feet, or get on our feet, but slowly but surely, because it took us a while.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
honestly, blessing in disguise for sure. And now I'm
yeah,
assuming you guys have your own place, you're good. It's been a few years.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing. That's okay. So you got to the UK, it's pandemic. You're like, holy shit, what am I gonna do? I don't know anybody. And how is it that you start to get into pole? Because you've obviously built an incredible career for yourself, a presence on social media. You've had the opportunity to perform for, Snoop Dogg Wiz Khalifa. You mentioned London Fashion Week, Dragons and UK. It's like, holy shit, like the resume goes on and you're just starting. So like, why pole?
So pole actually started when I was living in Montreal in
Okay.
2000. So I started in 2015, but it was always like a side thing. It was like the way that I'm not sure what fitness you do, because I know that you love fitness, but I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what do you do? Sorry.
Soccer, dance, like gym, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, but the way you kind of like do, something recreationally on the side, but
Mm-hmm.
you love it so much, but
Yeah.
like you're not thinking, I'm gonna get paid to do this one
Yeah.
day. That's
Yeah.
how it was for me. It was just like a physical passion, because I'm very active. I've always been that way. But
Mm-hmm.
then it was really when I moved to Australia, that's when it kickstarted my thinking of, oh wow, I can actually make this a career. Because when I was in Australia, the Australian pole scene is extremely vibrant. It's
Okay.
extremely competitive. There's loads of competitions like happening in different parts of the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I want to compete, and I initially told everyone, because once again, it's that fear of dreaming big. I said I want to just do one competition because it's on my bucket list. That's what
Right.
I told people.
Right. Yeah.
And then like, but because you don't want to say, like, you don't want, like, and that's what I noticed about myself, is that I was always like playing a bit small, and now
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I way rather now just say something that okay, I don't want to lie, and like, or like,
No, it's not a lie.
but
It's delusion. What I like to say is like you got to be
yes,
a little bit delusional. Like I'm the same way.
exactly,
I say the same thing. I'm like
exactly.
I'm building a multi-million dollar business and you're going to have people that are going to roll their eyes and be like, "Yeah, okay, good luck." And I'll be like, "Just watch.
Yeah,
Like it might not
exactly.
be tomorrow, but it's coming." And just like dream big. Like instead of one competition, let's win five.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I love that mindset, and
Yeah.
I'm still working on like having that everyday mindset, because it's one thing to have a mindset for 1 week, but then there's another thing about like it being an innate thing that like even
Mm-hmm.
your subconscious is thinking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyways, I ended up doing a competition, and then that was in Adelaide, and I remember that competition was like just such a sick feeling of just being on stage doing my thing. I didn't win or anything. I won a mini award. I actually won like a, sometimes they have for these competitions, they have like first place, first runner up, second runner up, and those are like the main awards. And then
Yeah.
sometimes they'll also have little like mini awards, which is like best costume or like, so I actually won best tricks. So that was like,
Oh,
that was pretty cool. But
yeah.
I think that what had happened was that like the entirety of my story didn't make sense to the audience, and that's something
Ah, okay.
I'll actually explain that later on, because I know that there's going to be a moment where you're, anyways, I'll explain more of that later on, because I tend to digress. But anyways, it was really competing, and then after I got a job, like a part-time teaching job, and that is what really, I was like, okay, so like I'm making money from doing this part-time teaching job. uh, this is like, I'm not making that much money, like but it still like was the beginning of, okay, this is like, this can be a career potentially. And then after one thing led to another, when I moved to the UK, I ended up teaching at all these different studios. And then after I started an online business, and then that is when I was like, okay, so I can actually make a career from this. So it really started from just teaching, like in Australia, I think I was teaching like 3 to 4 hours a week. Like that's like literally just, spending money. And then
Yeah.
after, when I moved to the UK, I started to make it like part of my actual like income. So
Cool.
yeah.
And what's that pay like? I guess do they pay you like per class, hourly? Does it go by experience, or is it just like by the studio? Does it not matter?
So there are so many variables when it comes to like teaching rates. So just to give you an example, usually when you are a regular like instructor, in the sense that you are like an instructor at a studio,
Mm-hmm.
you usually just you will usually get like an hourly rate. That's
Okay.
how it generally is. If you are a guest instructor doing like a guest workshop, you're only there for like that 1 day, maybe 2 days, and then you're
Mm-hmm.
gone. Because like for example, me, I'm now in Montreal, but I'm technically a UK based pole dancer. So when I come to Montreal, I do guest workshops.
Yeah.
That's when you could really demand more, because you're a
Yeah.
guest, you're not there for long.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when, like for me personally, I actually charge per head. So
Ah,
that,
yes.
and that I find has helped me a lot with just like, I just feel like I'm maximizing my profit from doing per head.
Mm-hmm.
And then also it also keeps you accountable too for marketing the event, because it's not like, oh,
Yes.
no matter what, I'm walking away with, $300. It's like, no, I want to make like, the more bookings I get, the more I market this event, the more I'm going to make. So
Yeah.
unless obviously it sells out, then there's nothing else you can do. But
So
so
what does someone typically charge for a class? Like what is the cost to attend one class for one person?
So in the UK, a drop in generally is about like 14 to 15 pounds if
Okay.
you want to attend a pole class. So that's going to be, let's just say that's about a little bit short of $30.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I tend to give rates in pounds, so I'll try my best to like
No, that's
translate
okay.
as
Yeah,
much as
yeah.
possible. Yeah. So it'll be about 15 pounds. You'll see some studios actually they'll do a drop in for 20 pounds. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen that as well. So let's just say 15 to 20 pounds, and then after but if you get like a package, then
Yeah.
after it's a little like, obviously it makes it less expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But then after, if we're talking about like a workshop's like a whole other ordeal, because it's a bit more special,
Mm-hmm.
and workshops tend to be 90 minutes. So like when I, for example, when I have my 90-minute workshops, my rate per head is in Canadian is $60 per head. So let's just say I get 10 signups, and after in that 90-minute workshop, I'm making 600. So
So the
so
studio doesn't take anything, like a
no,
percentage?
so the studio, that's my rate, and then after
Okay.
the studio has to put something on
Upsells.
top of it.
Got it.
Exactly. So then if my last workshops, I think I saw the studio was put me at $80 for the 90-minute workshop. So you do see that like the price of like a regular pole class
Yeah.
compared to a workshop, there is a big price difference.
Yeah.
However, the workshops are more specialized. They're like they're more structured.
Hmm.
You tend to get more out of a workshop than
Yeah.
just a regular pole class. Also remember that a pole class you have to do a full warm up and a full cool down. So then after you sometimes only get like about 40 to 45 minutes of actual like the good stuff, you know?
Hmm.
Not to say that warm up and cool down don't have value, but you get what I mean. People usually want to be there for the
The fun like creative part where you get to move on the pole. No, I totally get it because I used to
yeah.
dance. So it's the same
Yes.
thing with dance. You have,
Yeah.
let's say, an hour and a half dance class. 45 minutes of that is spent like warming up, and then like sometimes just 20 minutes is like the actual dance portion, and then you stretch and then you leave. So it's
Exactly.
very similar. And then us too with workshops, with the dance workshops, it's probably maybe a little bit different than pole, because when we would have workshops, it'd be like multiple choreographers that come in.
Mm.
So, I mean, with pole, I guess it's a little bit more labor intensive, that like you probably can't be hanging off a pole for like 4, 5, 6 hours at a time. I don't know, you tell me. But like with dance, at least you can like jump from like one style to another. And like, I remember doing like 3 days of workshops. I was actually just recently looking back at like things from, I think it was like 2017 or something. I have old videos that I used to post on social media of me dancing. And it's like, it's hilarious to look back. Like the contemporary and the jazz, I was like, hey, not so bad. And then you look at me doing hip hop and you're like, oh my God. There's like this tall, lanky thing waving around.
I love that. But then at the same time though, you have to save those videos because then after it's amazing for progress, you know? Are you still
Yeah.
doing hip hop now or
No,
did you
no,
just
no, no.
okay.
No, I gave up on that dream a long time ago. I was like, I think I'm gonna stick to contemporary.
Fair enough, fair enough. Contemporary
Yeah.
looks freaking hard. It looks
Yeah.
extremely difficult. I haven't like dabbled very much in contemporary, but man, I love watching it. I really
Yeah.
do.
It's so beautiful. I mean, like back in the day, I mean, we don't have So You Think You Can Dance that plays anymore, but I used to be obsessed with those shows, So You Think You Can Dance. Recently, there was a new one. What was the one with J Lo and
Um,
World of
uh,
Dance? World
World
of
of Dance,
Dance.
yeah. I
Yeah.
just finished watching that really good one. Project, no, not Project. Dance 100.
Oh, on
Dance
Netflix.
100. Yeah, on Netflix. That one is really good too. I
I know
actually
one of the
my friend's in
choreographers.
it.
No,
Oh no,
me
wait.
too. Wait,
Oh
who?
no. I don't know the choreographer. I know one of
Oh,
the people that was in like the
the
Dance
dancers.
100. Yeah, one of the
Okay,
dancers.
cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Who do you know?
Janik
Okay.
Arsenault.
Yeah,
She
I
was
follow her on Instagram.
she was a choreographer and also danced with me in some of my classes in Montreal back at 8 Count.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
so this was like a
crazy.
long time ago. Like when we started off, I think the first few, because 8 Count was very like hip hop focused, and then they
Mm-hmm.
started introducing more technical classes. And so she had technical training. I think she's from New Brunswick, so she like initially had all that technical training, and then came in, and the owner of 8 Count basically like took her under her wing, and then she was part of like all of those big dance crews and whatever. Anyway, she made a great career for herself too. But yeah, so we started off like dancing together, and then like she's just like way better than me. So she ended up being a teacher, and I was her student in her class. So I did a few classes with her, and a few performances with her. But yeah, I wonder if
That's
she like really remembers me.
incredible.
It was so long ago, but I've been following
She
her
definitely
journey.
does. She definitely does. You should try to get her on the podcast.
Actually, it's a good idea. I didn't think of it. That's a
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah. Well, I'm manifesting that for you.
Thanks. Okay, so I want to get into the details. This last performance, this was like a week ago or a few days ago, no? When were you
Yes,
just on stage?
on Wednesday.
And are you still like shaking?
Uh, no, I'm back to normal now. I'm so grateful for
Yeah.
like for all of these opportunities that have presented themselves. Yeah, it was amazing. They're always amazing. They're all super special. I always want to like remember the feeling that I have getting off of these or like not off of these experiences, but like once I get home, I try to like bask in these feelings because they're just so special. They don't happen every day. I
Yeah.
want them to happen every day, but at the moment they're not happening every day. So I really just tried to like, enjoy the rest of my week. I had a really nice like like no work weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is actually my first day back at like working again.
Yeah.
So I really just like basked in the feelings, and I just like went out on the weekend. So I'm feeling really good. I
Good.
find that like it's really easy when you have like these amazing opportunities just to be like, okay, great, what's next?
Yeah.
And I do feel like it's good to take the time to just be grateful and to really just sit in those feelings, because that's like what I've been working for. I've been working for these nights and these moments. And what's the point if you're going to just like forget about it and say like, okay, what's next,
Yeah.
And I have that tendency to do that. And I'm trying to just be more focused on staying, just
Celebrating the
just
wins.
celebrating. Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And that I feel like I'm slowly getting better at that, but it's always been like an issue, because then after, when you're always like, okay, what's next, then after
Yeah, because
you almost feel,
you're driven, you're
yeah,
determined, you have that drive, like you want to like go for the next thing. I get it. I can relate too, and I've been guilty of
yeah,
that also. But I think you already have the awareness of it, right? And that's the first step. So like the fact that you can just like sit and be like, wait a second, like, and purposely almost like book that time off, kind of like you did,
exactly,
to like
yeah,
relish in all of what just happened. Because so
yeah,
just to kind of catch people up, because we didn't really refer back to it, but so Wednesday, today is Tuesday, so it's been about a
Tuesday,
week, right,
yeah,
that
yeah.
you performed for Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa. This was the second time that you had performed on stage with him.
Third,
Third.
yeah, yeah,
Oh shit.
yeah,
I
yeah,
thought it
yeah,
was the second. This is the third. Okay. So
yeah,
like I want to go
yeah.
back to the beginning. How did you get approached for this? How did they find you? What did the like negotiation process look like? I want to know it all. So let's start from the beginning. Like how did Snoop Dogg find you, Kheanna
Yeah.
Walker?
So luckily, the booking agent, because it's not Snoop that does the actual
Right, of
bookings.
course.
Yes. So the booking agent, and she's also a pole dancer, a very well known and respected pole dancer. Her
Oh,
name is
cool.
Nicole the Pole. And she is based in LA, and she has had a working relationship with Snoop for a while. To be honest, I don't know exactly how. Something that I should definitely probably read up on. But she's been working with him for a while, so she was in charge of booking his world tour. So when one day, and this is when I say that sometimes, well, always, the universe has my back, because
Yeah.
this was something that I didn't ask for. It almost like kind of just happened. So I was messaging her about something completely random, because she was putting out feelers about a Bali retreat. Because just a side note, now is a very popular time where pole dancers, especially pole dancers with a lot of followers, they can now they organize retreats, like pole retreats.
Cool.
And anyways, it's a really cool thing that people are doing. Maybe one day I'll do it myself. But anyways, so I was just asking her questions about her Bali retreat. And then after, she messages me back and saying, hey, I just saw that you're based in Glasgow. Do you want to apply to perform with Snoop Dogg? And I was like, yeah, like
Uh,
absolutely. And then she was like, great, just send me some videos, or send me some, like, she just basically told me the application process.
mhm.
She was just like, send me a video of you dancing to a Snoop Dogg song, has to be one of these songs. She named a bunch. I chose I Wanna Love You, aka I Wanna Fuck You. I
Yeah.
chose that
Oh,
song
okay,
because it's,
okay.
sorry if you can't
You
swear on
can
this
swear, you can
podcast,
swear.
but it's it's a very like, I see you winding and grinding up on that pole. I was like, I'm obviously going to choose that
Yeah.
song. So I did. So then within a couple of days, I went and I filmed this choreography. My boyfriend actually came to come and film me, because I wanted the person that was filming me to be someone I was like, very attracted to.
That makes
And
sense. It makes
yeah.
sense.
And then after, it was, yeah, I submitted the video, and then after I got the part. So that
Wow.
was like an amazing, and the craziest thing was that I actually got the call when I was at London Fashion Week. So I was already doing a very fun event in London, getting ready to go, like, to do this. It was basically like a catwalk, but
Okay.
like it was a catwalk with a pole dancer. So like I'm the pole dancer doing my dancing thing, and then after, there's models walking up and down
Right.
a catwalk.
Sick.
And so anyways, I was already like, backstage getting my hair and makeup done, and I get a phone call from Nicole. So I had to like leave, and then after, I was like, hey, and then she was like, hey, how would you like to perform with Snoop Dogg in Glasgow? And I was like freaking out.
No
And then,
shit.
but I
Yeah.
was already like, it was just one of those, like, you already have a really exciting thing happening, and then you get another phone call. So I was on cloud nine for sure.
Wow. Yeah.
um and then after the Glasgow show, she Nicole calls me in the morning. Literally, I had been up for like 4 hours at this point. Sorry, I only had like a 4 hour sleep because I
Right.
was just so buzzed, like high
Hmm.
on life.
Yeah.
And then after, she was like, "Hey, the team loved you. Do you want to do the London show?" And I was like, that London was like the big show for the UK because
Yeah.
it's London, like,
It's
it's at the
London. Yeah.
O2 Arena. The O2 Arena is
Wow.
like an iconic venue, and not to say that the Hydro in Glasgow is not, but we all have to be real. The O2 has like some of the biggest events in the world happening, you
Yeah.
know? And so I was like, yeah, I'll definitely do that. So then after, I went to London a few days later. And then after that, uh, I thought it was all over. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, great. Bye, Snoop Dogg. And then I saw, oh man, he's coming to Toronto. So I applied because it was just, great timing. I'm here. I'm visiting family. I work remote now. Look, a lot. Yeah, I technically work remote now, so I can be here for a month, 2 months if I want. So I was just here, just living. And then after, I saw that he was coming to Toronto, so I applied and I got the gig again. So it was just really like, I'm very, very grateful that all of these things have happened.
And the
And
timing, it
yeah,
all aligned. Yeah.
yes, it's the timing too. It's like being at the right place at the right time. Yeah.
Cool. So, I mean, you were in Toronto, but for example, like when you were in Glasgow and he was performing in London, like do they cover your ticket price? How does that work for compensation? Like, are you taking care of like that, or is it like you got to show up, you got to pay for your flight, and then we'll pay you for the show kind of thing?
Yeah, so for these events, they only pay you for the performance,
Okay.
but they do say local performers. They're always saying we are hiring local performers. Obviously, it's a business thing.
Yeah.
They're running a business, so Nicole even says it, like, when people are applying, you should not be paying for your own accommodation. Like, you should not be like doing that, because like, if you have to pay for accommodation, you should not be applying, in the sense that, like,
Okay.
it she's giving us advice, like, this is an opportunity where we want you to turn a profit.
Yeah.
So if you are willing to travel and then after get accommodation, then that's on you. So I'm
Hmm.
very lucky that I have a good friend, Mel, that lives in London, so I stayed with her. And then after,
Perfect.
in Toronto, I have family in Toronto, so I stayed with family. So
Yeah.
like, but that was like, a choice that I was willing to make, because at the end of the day, for me personally, performing doesn't really make up my regular income. For me,
Yeah.
performing
It's
is
the
just
experience.
yes, and little
Yeah.
it's just monetary bonuses, but like,
Hmm.
even but not even the financial bonus, but yeah, like life experience,
Yeah.
connections, memories, like, I always end up coming back from a performance, whether it's a small studio performance or a big show like that. I always come back with a different perspective on life and all that stuff. So like, I don't mind, as long as
Of
I'm like,
course.
I don't want to work for free. I don't want to, but I even do sometimes some things for free. But I know that I'm coming from like a place of privilege to be able to say that. But
Yeah.
sometimes if it sounds like a cool concept, I'll do it for free, because I don't look at performing at the moment as my main source of income. It's just like, it's a bonus. So
It's fun, it's the
yeah,
experience. Yeah, no, I've
yeah,
spoken about this even from like a career perspective with other people on the podcast before too, where it's like sometimes like the value is in doing the work or doing the thing and the people you're going to meet, what you're going to be exposed to. It the payment doesn't necessarily have to be monetary, right?
yes,
And
yeah,
like you said, like those memories too, I've always been an experience person over like a gifts person. So it's like, put
yes,
me somewhere. I want to experience it. I want to be with the people. To say that you've even done that, to say that you've
mm,
met him, because it's not like you were just like plopped up on stage to dance. Like, at least from what I've seen from your videos, you were able to interact with him, have conversations with him. So you built somewhat of a relationship, and I'm sure that that has so much value as opposed to if you were to just, okay, dancer number two on stage, like it looked like it was a very cool personal experience. Like, talk a little bit more about that relationship element.
yeah. So after the shows, we're always allowed to hang out with them a little bit. It's not,
Yeah.
because at the same time, you're in like a you're in the like his dressing room, but it's not like a dressing room, it's like massive, you know, like
Yeah.
it can fit like a lot of people, but you're in a dressing room, and then after there you're there, but then other people are there too,
Yeah.
whether it's VIPs or other rappers, or you know what I mean, like
Hmm.
anyone can be there. Not anyone technically, because after the O2 Arena we actually had to wait for David Beckham to leave before we got to go.
Oh,
Yeah,
shucks.
so like yeah, I because then after we were wondering, we were like, what's taking so long, because we couldn't go into the dressing room for like,
Yeah.
you know, an hour, and we were like, what's taking so long, like we don't usually have to wait this long, but it's because David Beckham was there. But
Cool.
generally you're allowed to like, you go there right after the show, and then you hang, you have some drinks, you take pictures, and then you can talk with him. He takes time to make
Hmm.
sure that everyone in that room feels seen, and he shows that he's like, you know, he's grateful. He's not like saying, oh, thank you so much for being here, but he's not
Yeah.
like, I'm a legend, make like, you know, bow down to me. He's very much like playing music, he's
Hmm.
bopping, he's, you know, and you could like, if you have questions you can ask him, you know. I remember I once asked him, like, sorry, just 2 seconds, I just got a notification, I'm not sure if you got that. Sorry, I just make want to make sure that you don't get that again.
No worries.
um, but then after, at one point, he was like, I asked him, I was like, are you like, do you get nervous before shows and stuff? After, he was like, yeah, of course I do. He was like, I feel like some sort of anxiety the whole day. And I was like, that's crazy that you still
Wow.
get nervous
Yeah.
before shows, you know? And yeah, like he's just a real guy that, like, you know,
Hmm.
admits that he gets anxious before shows,
Hmm.
and yeah, and like he's very, very like laid back, so he's not, he's just doesn't give you that uptight energy, which I
Yeah.
love, because I'm obviously a very like high alert person, so being someone that is like the opposite, it's just a cool thing, you know what I mean?
I don't know. Like I was watching your videos and I was like, it just seems so cool. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy that you got this experience, that like you feel like you got so much out of it. Like you're glowing. I don't know. Like if you're listening to this, like watch this too, because this girl has been smiling the whole time. And I love
uh,
it. I love to see it. Like congratulations, honestly. Like it sounds kind of formal, but like seriously, congratulations on all of
oh,
that because it's a big
thank
deal.
you, that means a
Sit in
lot,
it.
thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Okay. I want to say enough about Snoop Dogg, but like there's never enough about Snoop Dogg because we're probably going to come back to it anyway.
Of course, it's definitely been a career highlight, you know. So
Yeah.
like, I'm more than happy to talk about it too. And I know that like a lot of people, um, you know, are like, a lot of pole dancers like want this gig so badly,
Yeah.
and I just want them to know that, like, you know, if it doesn't happen with Snoop, like I believe that the like, if you just keep working towards these big stage moments, they're gonna happen. Whether
Hmm.
it's Snoop or it's maybe Coachella. Yes, there are pole dancers at Coachella. There are pole dancers. Well, Burna Boy came to London, and I didn't get chosen, which, by the way, I could talk to you about that as well. I submitted, or I was approached at, like, I was told that the team was looking at my profile and they decided to not hire me, and that's okay as well.
Hmm.
Like, there's like, you're
Did
gonna
they
win
tell
some
you a
and you're gonna,
specific reason why?
no, they didn't, but I have an idea of why I didn't get chosen.
Why do
And
you
I
think?
think I do present in, my profile, like when you look at it, like, just if you're just scanning my grid, um, it's very, very like, there's pole elements, of course, but a lot of like athletic pole elements.
Hmm.
So I think they were looking for a little bit more of a sensual style. So
Okay.
like, I specialize in tricks. That is what I'm like most like well known for, just because of my background in athletics. I love to do like
Hmm.
aerial tricks that are, you know, and not to say that the girls that got chosen don't specialize in that. I'm not to say that, but the girls that got chosen, I think if you look at their Instagram grid, they do tend to show more of that sensual style
Yeah.
of pole choreo, and
Hmm.
I think that that's what maybe they were looking for as well. And I know that I was being looked at, like, in terms of my application, it was just my grid. It was just, they were
Right.
just like,
Okay.
they told me that I didn't have to send anything. But the agency that approached me said, "Are you happy for us to send them your Instagram?" So that was technically my application, you
Yeah.
know.
Whereas like
And
in
I
other opportunity, you'd probably be able to like put together a choreography specifically based on what they're asking. And then maybe that would increase your chances. Cause I'm sure you could create something in that essence, right? But it was
Yes,
more so
yes.
like what your portraying on social media maybe would have geared them another way, right?
Exactly. That's what I think, and there could be complete like other reasons why as well. But
Mm-hmm.
that's just what I think, and I'm okay with that because I'm happy with how I curate my grid and how I like I'm okay with my style. That's just what I've chosen to develop, and if people don't like it, then that's okay. But that's I
Mm-hmm.
think how we all have to be confident in the style that we have in terms of like being artists. Like people are gonna like it, some people won't like it, some
Yeah.
people will think it's too sexy, some people will think it's too sporty, some people think you're wearing too much clothing. Some people will think that you're not wearing enough clothing. It's just like
Yeah.
whatever. You have to just, do what you believe in, and that's okay.
Yeah, and kind of like on that topic too. I mean, you've grown you have over 60,000 followers now on
Yeah.
Instagram alone, right? How
Hmm.
long did it take you to build up that following? And since then, have you seen, I mean, I'm sure you have any kind of like negative feedback, reactions from complete strangers, even from people closer to you? Like, what has been, people's general, I guess, reactions and commentary on your content that you've been posting?
I'm very, very grateful that I get like 99.9% positive feedback, but I think it's because like my following is like they're pole enthusiasts or pole
Hmm.
supporters. Like, why would you follow me if you hate pole dance? Like, it makes
Right.
no sense, you
Yeah.
know? So most of my comments are like are quite positive. I
Good.
have gotten some like random people that have like just commented something, but like they don't follow me, and they'll say
Mm,
something negative. I remember the last one that was kind of like crazy because it was actually about female empowerment. And I remember the comment was like, "Me too." What did she say? "Me too. I feel empowered by dancing on a pole like a whore or like a slut." Or, okay, "Me too. I feel empowered by being a slut on a pole." So that's what she comments, right? Saying,
wow, yeah.
and it's about female empowerment, right? So it was like, wow. And so she put, I think she actually shared that to her story, and then that was what she wrote on the text. But like I still see when people share
Mhm.
my reels. She didn't tag me, but I can still see it, you know? And
Mhm.
then so I actually ended up like just screenshotting it and just being like putting it on my story and just being like, this is why we still have a lot of work to do, you know?
Mhm.
And because it's true, like I feel like the reason, one of the big things that we're trying to work on here, or like one of our missions is so that like we can all just be ourselves and like wear what we want and do what we want and like be happy for one another. And like especially as a woman, like I would never look at another woman like living a, like her best life or whatever, and like feeling happy, and that woman's also trying to empower other women, and then after like shit on her. Like I just, so like, that it just makes no sense. So like
Mhm.
obviously, like, anyways, I had like some friends that messaged me saying, oh, like, just DM. I wasn't, by the way, trying to get people to DM her. I was not. I was just saying like, this is why we have some work to do. And then after, some of my friends were like, yeah, I just messaged her, just letting her know like that was not cool. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And like, I even like, because some people were quite hurt by that and stunned by that, and then they
Yeah.
just had to let the person know, like, by the way, like that's like you don't have to do that, you know. So anyways, I remember that being like, wow, like that sucks that there are still people like that, you know. And
Mhm.
then there are sometimes on TikTok, which, by the way, I took a break from TikTok just because of mental bandwidth, didn't have enough, because I also, by the way, I also run the creatives of another brand, Pole Junkie. So I'm
Mhm.
the creative lead of Pole Junkie as well. So just doing all of Pole Junkie stuff and my stuff, I just couldn't keep up with my TikTok. So I've
It's
taken
a
a break from
lot. It
TikTok.
is. Yeah.
But yeah, but on TikTok, I've gotten like so many like gross men just, trying to like looking at my art in like a wrong way. But like I'm okay with that also, because I'm like, that's like, what am I gonna do? Like, I can't
Yeah.
control who sees my videos. If a video
Mhm.
goes viral, you're gonna get men that see it, and
Yeah.
so at the end of the day, I just kind of ignore it. I don't, write back. I don't have the time to write back. But like, sometimes they will just say some pretty like gross remarks about like, wish I was your pole and stuff like
Oh
that. Or
god.
I have a
Come
pole that you
on.
can use, and like, but
Silly
as
stuff,
like
yeah.
as pole dancers, like we all get that and like we're aware
Mm-hmm.
of it. We don't do it for that. And if some
No.
girls do that
Yeah.
or if some people do it for that, then that's okay. But like I don't do it for that at all. But I understand that it's one of the things that will happen, you know, if it can
Naturally.
happen
Yeah.
because of the world that we live in, you
Yeah.
know.
There's
So
only so much that we can control for sure. So it's really just a matter of like how you take it. And like you said, ignore it, move on, focus on the positive. I mean, it sounds like you have mostly positive stuff, which is great. Honestly, like a healthy environment because social media can be a dark and scary place for some people. But it
yes,
sounds like a very
yes.
positive place for you. So, I want to talk a little bit about like how you're monetizing then, because you said like you're doing all these shows, all these things are great experiences, but not necessarily what's like bringing you in all of the money. And you mentioned you have an online business. So what is
Hmm.
that? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yes. So I only started this business now in March. So this is like quite new.
Oh, okay, cool.
I started off doing just online classes. And then the
Mm-hmm.
online classes were quite good because what I had realized is that, in-person classes, which is, by the way, I love teaching people in person because I'm a very social person. I love that personal connection,
Yeah.
giving high fives, whatever. Just like the things that you can't really do on Zoom.
Yeah.
I do love teaching in person, but generally, unless it's a guest workshop,
Mm-hmm.
if you're doing regular in-person classes, you're gonna get a capped wage. So a capped
Right.
wage, yeah. So basically, whether it is whether your classes are sold out or you have, maybe even three people in the class, that can happen as well. You're always going to get the same wage, and usually it's like it just stays at that wage, right? Whereas
What's like the range for like for that wage? From like
so
someone like a let's say a new pole teacher versus like someone who's like super experienced.
So you'll like it all depends on what the studio owner like the wage that they are providing. So
Got it.
it'll be either per hour, it can range from £20 an hour to about £40 an hour.
Okay.
So that's so if in Canadian, let's say about like, it can range from like let's just say 35 to let's just say 70.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah,
really
yeah.
depends on the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. When you
So
think of it from like a sustainability standpoint, it is challenging. So it's not like you're teaching for 8 hours a day. Usually it's
exactly.
like 1 or 2 hours a day. So like you think that's what, like
Yeah.
let's say 80, sometimes maybe max, let's call it $200 a day. If you're teaching twice, maybe three times a day, which is not likely, right?
Yeah, well, because like when you get to the point where your like pole is like what you do all the time, you could teach up to like 6 hours.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes I know a girl and love her, but I know that like she had one day where she used to teach like Wednesdays were her 8 hour days, and I was like,
Woof.
yeah, I was like, that's insane. But everyone has their own tolerances, right? At the beginning, I was like so hungry, I was willing to take anything on literally,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how it always is. And not to say
Yeah.
I'm not hungry anymore, I'm just a lot smarter with how I use and spend my energy.
Yes.
So yeah, generally like when you're teaching, you can teach like a good amount of hours. For me personally, I like is about 3 to 4 hours, because also, by the way, you do private lessons as well. So like
Okay.
a private lesson with me is $100 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
for 60 minutes, for 60 minutes.
Makes
um
sense.
so um so yeah, so like teaching with teaching online classes, what changed for me was that it's technically uncapped, because
Mm-hmm.
you can, of course, like you have the people that are wanting to be in your Zoom call, the live, but then so many people who can't make it live still want to train with you. They just can't maybe be there at that time because they're in the Philippines or Abu Dhabi, and
Yeah.
then
Or they just
they
have something to
request.
do. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. And then they request recordings. So then after what I would notice is that I would have a lot of people. I'd have people in my live classes, but I'd have so many more requests for recordings.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, like there's something here. So then
Mm.
after I decided to, because I also saw some very inspirational pole artists in my industry. They were starting some libraries, video libraries, like subscription services. I was like, oh, I'm going to do that as well. So I teamed up with my sister, who's a web designer,
Mm.
and her and we worked on putting together this library. So basically, it's like you just get, if you are a subscriber, my rate is £30 a month. So let's just say about $50 a month. If you get that, you get access to all of my recordings that I've ever made.
Sick.
So they're class recordings, And
Mm-hmm.
then also, because you're a subscriber or because you're a member, you also get free access to any live classes I teach. So like for example, this month it's August now. I haven't released any live classes yet because there's about like 100 classes on the library. But when I do release some live classes, I'm gonna probably release maybe like 5 to 10. We'll see. When I release them, anyone that's a member also gets free access to those.
Nice.
But then of course there are some people that maybe just don't want to be a member. They don't want to do the £30 a month subscription. They just want to buy a single class. Then
Mm-hmm.
after, I also let them buy a single class as well, which is £10 for a single class. So technically, if you want to do all of them, it makes way more sense to be a subscriber than
Right.
if you wanted to buy individually, £10 for a single class.
Yeah. But
So
what's cool about that though is like by paying for that one class, then they'll have it forever, right? So if
no,
they,
2 weeks
oh no.
only.
Oh, okay, okay.
Sorry, 2 weeks only.
I
Yeah,
wanted to know about that. Yeah, okay, so that makes sense because then they don't have like unlimited rights to it or whatever. Is it are you
exactly.
using a platform? What are you using for this?
I use Zoom.
Zoom, but then where do they make the purchases? Just on your website? Is it like through Shopify? Is it what are you using for
Yes,
that?
it's Wix. So it's
Oh,
at
okay, okay.
KheannaWalker.com. And if you go on Wix, you can be a member, become a member. So at the moment, I have mostly intermediate advanced content. However, I'm trying with time to give or provide more beginner intermediate content as well. I just started
Hmm.
off obviously teaching what I teach most,
Yeah.
and that's generally like intermediate to advanced level stuff. And
Hmm.
then slowly but surely, I'll start releasing more beginner stuff as well.
Cool. Are there like trends
Yes.
in pole? Is that a thing?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, there are like in terms of trends, like sometimes you'll like there will be like challenges if
Okay.
that makes sense. So
Yeah.
there will be challenges, or there might be like a trending trick, which is like
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
see a lot of trick yeah, like a lot of people are doing this new trick that someone discovered, because at the end of the day, like the possibilities are limitless. Like there's always people that are like pushing boundaries, trying new stuff, and sometimes there will be like a new trick that everyone is like, oh wow, that's so cool, I want to try it too, and then they'll just like hop on a trend.
Yeah. No, it makes
Yeah.
sense. That's so
Hmm.
cool. Um, we're gonna wrap up here because we're almost at
Yes.
time. But I wanted
Sorry.
to ask you, are you running away from me? Where are you going?
No, no, no. I was just putting on the fan.
Oh, is it getting
Sorry. I just
hot?
yeah, it's getting well, because I just didn't want the fan to be on because of just like the noise. Do you hear that at all?
Yeah, yeah.
You hear it?
No, not really.
Oh,
But we're wrapping
great.
up anyway. But wait, we can't go
Perfect.
yet because you have to leave everybody with I end each podcast with what's called the mindful minute. So it's a
Hmm.
piece of advice that you want to give anyone who's listening based on your experience in life and what you've gone through so far. What would that be?
Okay. I have a few pieces of
All
advice.
right, let's do it.
Number one, working on your mental fitness is as important or even more important than your physical fitness, because you can have a lot of like dancing ability, or you could be so flexible, or you can be extremely athletic, but one thing that I feel that a lot of people don't like, I guess, teach is training your mind, because especially in a world like today where you need to stand out from like in a sea of social media artists or content creators and all that stuff, like there's so much competition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you need to be able to really like put yourself out there, and putting yourself out there takes a certain amount of mental toughness, because you are putting yourself in a position where people can put negative comments. They can turn you into a meme. Like, and it's a bit scary to know that, but
Yeah.
at the same time, are you going to just like not fulfill your art, or not fulfill your dream or your passion because you're scared to be turned into a meme? Like it's very much
Hmm.
like you got to put yourself out there. Of course there's but I believe that there's going to be more positive things that come from it than negative things. So yeah, mental toughness and training your mind, whether it's using doing meditation, positive affirmations, practicing manifestation, having a life coach, listening to podcasts, motivational speeches. Find the people that like really inspire you, and
Hmm.
absorb their content as well. Working on your mindset is like number one for me. Number two is like, okay, I guess I kind of mixed a bit of both, but putting yourself out there, if especially if you're trying to get noticed,
Yeah.
and there's going to be also opportunities that like maybe you might have to like attend an event and all that stuff. Like you just need to be okay with just being like just going out there and putting yourself out there. So that was a
Hmm.
bit redundant, sorry. and
No, I
and
mean like
then
being accessible too, right? Like showing people
yeah.
that like you exist, you have a presence, you're putting in the effort to meet new people, build those relationships. Like it all ties back. It makes total sense.
Yes, yes. And then the last thing is trying new things. So, for example, one thing that I tried that didn't, really work out for me is I had my own podcast for a bit, and it was really fun. However, for me personally, I found it was a little bit too time consuming for what I had going on in my life. And
Hmm.
so I found that instead of it coming from a place of passion, it was coming from a place of stress. It was only adding stress and not adding any happiness. So after 10 or 11 episodes, I just yanked it. And like, that's okay. Yes, I
Yep.
still have my podcasting equipment. I had to pay for the rest of the year on my RSL, account or subscription. And I was like, it's a loss, yeah, but it wasn't a loss because I was proud of myself that I tried it, and
Yeah.
I think that even those 10 episodes, I benefited from those 10 episodes. I hope other people did. It didn't become a viral sensation, but I do feel like it created good in the world.
Hmm.
So yeah, like trying new things. Same thing as a library. I didn't know if I was gonna get like a million like subscribers. I still don't have a million subscribers, by the way, but I have 100% made way more money in the past few months since what is it? Since March than I ever have in terms of residual income. So
Yep.
that is I'm on a trajectory, right?
Hmm.
So I just believe that trying new things and not being like too scared because like if someone asks what happened to your podcast, I'm not scared to just be like, yeah, like I tried it, it was a sick experience, but I'm not doing it anymore. Being able just to like reframe it and not being like, oh, it was a failure,
Yeah.
like
Exactly. And even if it
yeah,
was, it's not that it like failure is a thing that everyone's going to experience, but it's ultimately like what allows you to grow and to learn.
yeah,
And if you constantly go into things being afraid to fail, chances are you will because you're looking for that, right? But if you go in with the open mind of saying like it could work, it couldn't work, and maybe it won't work, and if it doesn't, that's okay, then you're still empowered either way, right? Because it's like how will you ever know if you don't try? And I think that's a big thing.
amen.
It's like, just try. Amen.
Yeah, no,
And that's the end of our podcast.
yeah,
Actually, though,
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
it's been so good chatting with you. I feel like I can chat with you forever. But I know that people will have the opportunity to connect with you more on social. So, where can people find you? I know that you mentioned your website, KheannaWalker.com. I'll
Hmm.
link it in the show notes. What about social media so that everyone can take a look at all of your sick tricks?
At Kheanna Walker, so Kheanna Walker.
Walker,
Yeah.
Walker, just in case. I feel like that could be spelled differently too, you know?
True, 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 true.
Okay, girl. Bye to you and bye to everyone listening. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Thank you for having me.